Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this, your Aquarius September 2023 reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James, clairvoyant, and I've done a number of one-on-one clairvoyant readings for Aquarians from different parts of the world by FaceTime and Skype over the course of the last month. And if you might be interested to see what's involved in that, just check out the description below. I've also done a lot of healings for people as well over FaceTime and Skype as well. Now, when I was born, I was granted the gifts of clairvoyance and also the gift of healing, the spiritual gift of healing. But part of my soul contract here is that I must provide healing for free. That is, without any benefit to myself. Now, clairvoyant readings, of course, I charge for, but healing, I can't get anything back from it. That's just how it works. And so it's free, it's without obligation, there are no strings attached, there's nothing sold or promoted at all, a part of the healing session that I have with you over FaceTime or Skype. Unless you happen to be in my home city, of course, when you come and see me, as many people do. Now, that having been said, let's get on with the tarot, shall we? Now, the subscribers know, and how good it is to see you again. Dear, thank you for having me in your home. I love to see you each month, truly I do. And I really value your support and your comments below. Do you know, you know that we don't have any video advertisements making their way into this content, do we? So you get to enjoy the experience in full without any intrusion from ads. And you also know that we just have to take 5 cards because we don't spend a couple of seconds on a card. Rather, they're very talkative and they spend a few minutes per card. And I would say a lot more if we gave them time, but of course we're all restricted in the time that we have. And so we restrict ourselves to 5, and therefore let us get the 5 underway. Now, I might use my pen to point out some of the interesting aspects in the artwork, at least as it sees me, as being something that could be important for the interpretation of the energy which is coming around you at this time. So let's get it underway, shall we, and see what there is. 10 of discs. 8 of swords. Lust. The Aeon. That's something from in here. 7 of swords. Now, what you never see me doing is you never see me using these sort of things. Now, these were given to me, and when I was meditating on the images on there, interesting things came up. So I thought I might just for your benefit this month, just try one of these as well, just to open, just to see what there is that comes through, and see what there is. And this is talking about, well, it's a sideways sort of picture, which is unlock your heart. Well, come, as is our usual practice, come and sit down here next to me. You and I will together have a good close look at the artwork on these cards together, and I'll do the reading for you. Okay, let's have a look at this mood card, or something I call it, Unlock Your Heart. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I will just let you have a look at the picture that's here. Now, unlock your heart. Look, we all know of those people and the times when we have become hurt. There's a tendency to lock our heart up so that we will never be hurt again. But, do you know, life is about ups and downs, in and out. It's about living life and all it has going for it. And if there is a heart which is locked up, when at the appropriate time, and it always does, when it bursts open, there is catastrophe and there is disaster and there is pain and suffering. But if your heart has always been open, though you may cry tears from time to time, remember that your tears water the gardens of your heart. And you, through pain and through joy and from living free and open, become wise, compassionate, and can see in life the beauty that resides everywhere. Well, I think that's all I want to say about that. Let's have a look at the
tarot cards now, and this is interesting. There's some subconscious doubts that are coming on here, which is central energy is saying is quite misplaced. There's a new period coming up in your life, and it's tremendously successful for you. Well, let's examine, shall we, what the detail of these things may have to say. And what we have here, we have the moon in Aquarius. Now, here's the moon up here, which is pointed there. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seven pointed stars, one for each of these swords that are here. And they refer, the sevens, I think, to the 7 first known planets, the classical planets from the Sun up to Saturn. Now, in Christianity, of course, the 7-pointed star has been used throughout history to ward off evil. And we see the moon itself in the background at the dark and sometimes blood-red stage of the totality of a lunar eclipse. Now, in a blood moon eclipse, people sometimes experience negative effects at the physical level. There can be a lack of get up and go, and at the psychological level, negative thoughts, especially about spiritual issues. Now, the moon's actions of flux and reflux lead to instability, and people are more prone to make poor decisions as the intellect is compromised. Now, in the front of the card here, there is a camel. Now, your heavily laden camel here has gone to its knees and given up on making it to the oasis. You're out of water. Yet on the horizon, dark, towering storm clouds. Well, they speak of rain. So are you really going to give up now? It may be tempting to give up, because if you just fold, you can claim that you didn't really lose. Now, astrologically, I think that the moon clouds the intellectual qualities of Aquarius, and Aquarius is thus weakened, giving you a lack of clarity. And so there could well be here a sense of hopelessness about something for a moment, discouragement. Fears or negative expectations is what I see here. Now, if you look at the swords that are each there, the 7 swords, one might say, look, everything seems to be clouded by a film or veil. I just don't know what I really want. Another one might say, but it's just too good to be true. This one says, that's too much good at once. I could never cope with so much success. And then this one over here says, but I can't get my point across properly. And this one over here may well say, it's simply too much trouble and it takes too long. Now, these literally destructive thoughts don't need to be taken seriously. The reality is really different from your present perception of it. And soon you're going to be able to laugh over your own doubts. There may be sometimes some self-doubt. Everybody goes through self-doubt from time to time, making it seem that difficulties just will never be overcome. And your mind seems distracted at a time when you need to be focused, and that's reinforced by this here. But remember, your fears have nothing to do with reality. Wake up and see what's really happening. In what areas of your life do you put yourself down with your own limited ideas? What are your constricting belief systems? Say this to yourself. I master all the skills and means needed to achieve that for which I long for most deeply. Yes, really distracted thinking, I think, is what the cause of some temporary issue may be here with you. Let's have a look at this 8. And this is also in the same suit, the 8 of Swords. What do we have here? We have Jupiter coming into Gemini. Very interesting. And there's the number 8 here. Well, here we have the solar lion and the lunar eagle engaged in a tangle over a bit of string. Now, combined, the lion and the eagle are components of a thing called a griffin, which is a very strong mythological animal that wards off and defeats evil and problems at all times. And this thing that's in the middle here, well, that's wound with thread which tangles around the creatures themselves as they pull against each other. Now, these 8 daggers here, very sharp, they're arranged in the shape of a great wheel. Now, this dagger wheel has sharp points facing in all directions. All directions, I think, is important. And it's wound up with the other end of the thread that these two are struggling with. Now, the wheel turns and the thread winds. Now, untangled, it can be the guide that overcomes a trap of unconscious repression, or it can be a fruitless and half-hearted tug of war over a piece of string. And remember, when you have what seem to be opposites attacking or tugging at one another, it's very often the case that they end up in union with each other. Now, just returning to that astrology there, which is Jupiter in Gemini, look, I can see that Jupiter is in detriment in Gemini, and so Jupiter is weakened, and the inquisitive nature of Gemini inhibits Jupiter. Jupiter is the great benefic, remember, and a weakened Jupiter means that maybe you feel that you just can't get what you want due to too many, that's the Gemini aspect of it, distractions, which may or may not be self-created. So there could well be an element of self-sabotage here and quitting before you think that you might fail at something. But we were talking about that here. You might actually have a problem with endurance, or worry about thinking too much, or some difficulty in making a choice, so that no matter where you turn, no satisfactory solution seems to exist. And the more that you try to unravel this tangled ball of thread, the tighter the knots become. Well, let things rest and develop on their own for a while. As long as doubt concerning some decision or decisions remains, don't go for anything new. You know, Jupiter is the bringer of unforeseen and unexpected change for the better. The problem, which seems unable to be solved now, will find its own solution in its own way. I do really have this idea of very many thoughts going around in your head because of course you're so intellectual, you see, that, it's easy for you to be thinking about a number of things, but what can happen is that you can end up with analysis paralysis, and your energy can be scattered on endless, unproductive thoughts. Well, a solution is, as I say, to take time out and do something different and let Jupiter come in and do its work and let things settle down, and then come in with new eyes. Now, what alternatives are you torn between now? Just relax and let things develop. And say this to yourself, because you of all people, this is true. I am relaxed and I trust life. But the central energy which is blasting all through this spread for you, here is this card of lust. Now, this is very often called the strength card in most decks, but I actually prefer the word lust, because lust denotes a huge appetite. It's an appetite to live. It's a desire to have. It's the need to consume, to eat, to drink, to have fun, to love, to enjoy life. It's not just strength. And here we have denoted here is Leo. And there's a Hebrew letter here, I'll talk about that in just a second, called Teth. Let's look to see what's happening in the card. Now, here there is a woman, obviously, that is holding this lion firmly, and just looking at the way that she's holding that, do you see what it's sort of, it just might just go to show the mind that I have, but to me it seems rather erotic. And I'll go with that because it is like holding a serpent by the tail, awakening the dormant kundalini or sex energy, the drive within you. Now in her other hand here, she holds the grail containing the elemental sacrament. Now this cup is marked with the emblem of the sun and floats above this. This is like the solar path, and this comes in a figure 8. And how that comes about is that if you were to each day at exactly the same time, forgetting changes due to summertime and daylight saving, whatever it is, but at the same time each day from the same position, plot where the sun is, you'll find that over the course of the year it moves in this figure 8, which is the symbol of eternity, and it is reproduced there as well. Now in the background there is a dark volcano that's there, you see that? Behind which rises the sun and the moon, and they seem to be joined together with a number of stars there. Now this great red rose, it's blooming away on the card, and it's red for the red chakra of the base of the forces of the Kundalini. So I am going with this theme, am I not? And a rose, of course, is a symbol of the goddess and of her spiritual power. Now in the foreground are one, two, three shafts of wheat and 1, 2, 3 sunflowers, which are subtle reminders of the solar trinity of the sun. The sun, of course, being the ruler of Leo, and they would be, for example, the material sun or spirit, the soul, and the body. Now all three must be harnessed with passion and with vigor. Just to return just for a second to this Hebrew letter here, that's Teth. Now that actually is the 9th of the Hebrew letters, and the literal meaning of it is basket or nest. And you get that idea from looking at it, don't you? You can see that it would be a nest. And it's the symbol of all the good in creation. And it has to do with purity and impurity, and teaches you to choose the good, and also the realization that even within bad things that you may think to be bad, that happen, there is a hidden good. Now this letter also represents femininity, pregnancy. It includes the kindness and mercy of creation and the principle that everything is eternal and nothing is ever lost. Now the essence here is feminine, and it is the number 9 here, 9 months of pregnancy. And in a way it's shaped like a womb or a container where things change and transform. It is the field of manifestation, the essence of the feminine that contains all within her. Now the infinite is contained in this letter, and the infinite brings about the finite. So what I see here for you, and this is saying, do not be in the doldrums here, because this is a time of great passion where you'll have the opportunity to really put your talents to use. You'll have a great endurance and strength, and there'll be the combination of your animalistic energies, and in particular, you will be overcoming old fears and conditionings. Now, this is a representation of divine intoxication, of divine ecstasy, divine madness. The woman herself, she could well be intoxicated. And what I see here also is that there is really possibility here, I think, of a great love affair which could bloom, or the deepening of a committed relationship. Now this is definitely saying also, I think, that you are not going to be punished by a god who has any moral issue about your love life, providing it's legal, of course, and guilt and self-inflicted punishment are wrong in this area. It can also relate to having a passion for a particular situation, a particular endeavor, a particular way of doing something, just because you like doing it. And it's a time for you now where you'll start to engage with life to the fullest, having lust for life, and also being comfortable with your sexuality. Now, you should accept your sexual desires for what they are, rejoicing in them, but without letting them throw you or your life out of the balance. Yeah, just getting this feeling of passionate relationship with a very strong sexual and emotional intensity. It's also about doing something because you love it without over intellectualizing things. Do you know, if you are ready to accept all that you find in yourself, you will be able to move through everything with deep sensitivity. And this is talking about deep sensitivity. It's about accepting yourself and who you are. And you'll go through life with awareness, with love, and with understanding. Now, what areas of your life would you like to live out more fully? What has prevented you from doing so in the past? And are you ready to deal with this now? Take in everything with more awareness. Do you know, we often experience emotions such as love, sadness, pain, rage, or fear as obstacles only because we have never used to use them as fuel to burn, to give us energy in our life. And say this to yourself: I enjoy expressing my energy, vitality, and enthusiasm in all that I experience. I am a person of character and strength. I have unlimited creative resources to tap into, and I enjoy living life to the full. Now let's turn to this and see what it has to say. Now the Aeon, there's another of these Hebrew letters that here, and I think that Hebrew letter, if I'm not mistaken, is Shin, which I think means tooth or flame, but I'll get to that in just a second. Now, what I want to do is to get here and have a look at this. Here is fire, and here's this Hebrew letter. Well, really what we have here is a scene that is the beginning of the solar cycle. You know how we saw that solar cycle in that strength card that was around there, which is in the infinity symbol. Well, it's at the Aries point. The solar cycle starts at 0 degrees Aries, because there are two, what do you call these things, stands or plinths or something like that, with a couple of eggs in them. Now, the left one side is the tail end of Pisces, I think, while the right-hand side is the start of Aries. That's the one with the sprouting seed. Now, you're supposed to go into this picture and have a look across this field of fire, and here's this signature of fire again that's going through here, and look at it as if looking through this, what looks like a keyhole that's here, as if this is a keyhole that you're looking through. And in the background there you see this morning sun rising up, I guess on some sort of a solstice, or if it's it would be the equinox if it's Aries. And in the background here, I'm sure that would be Stonehenge, which is in England. And it lights up this crucible thing that's here as well. And there's the flames underneath it. Now, Stonehenge is a stone monument made thousands of years ago. And some people reckon that it's a solar clock determining the cycle of eclipses, measured by the phases of the moon. And here are all the different phases of the moon that are seen through the thing. And these phased moons are shown superimposed on the sky as a comet goes streaking by. Yes, you definitely have come out of the doldrums, I think, because now what you are concerned with is closure. There's a great degree of determination and resolution with you, a resolution, a determination to take definitive action here, and also to have a good sense of critical self-analysis. Now, I think there's a decision around which is going to have a major impact on your life, such as on your lifestyle, or in your workplace, or in a relationship. But these are positive. And it's a time to move on after seeing the bigger picture in relation to something. So do take time out to see that bigger picture, as Jupiter had encouraged you to do there earlier, to take that time out. It's a natural period of growth and shedding of things and people who no longer serve you, I think. This is a very fertile card. It's a high fertility energy. It's a family card. And there's also the ability here for someone to combine family and a career. You might be considering starting or adding to a family and deciding how to juggle your work with what that might mean. You'll be very gifted at analyzing things, so you'll be a good critic, and you'll have a great ability to speak from your intuition, and very often from your own first-hand experience. Now, you are being challenged to drop your worm's eye view and to see things from a higher plane. And when you have recognized the greater time spans, or aeons, then, and other contexts, incidentally, which you are increasingly ready to do, then you will then tend more and more to look at things in their beingness, without bias there. So I would also say this to myself if I were you at this time. I observe people and situations objectively and fairly. I value the combination of my qualities and characteristics, and I honor the unlimited well of creativity which is within me to express in personal and work settings. God is the unknown and the mysterious. The more that I know that I don't know what God is, actually, the closer I am to the divine. And then finally we go to actually this first card that you drew, which is that of the 10 of discs, which is Mercury in Virgo. Now, these 10 of discs are, I'm just looking at it, they're set out to represent the different parts of what's called the Kabbalistic tree of life. And I'm not going to go into that, but there's a very strong emphasis on symbols to do with Mercury here, as you can quite properly see. Now, Mercury in Virgo, well, Mercury rules and is also exalted in Virgo, so this is really good news for you, because it says you'll have great communication skills and you'll have great organizational ability thanks to Virgo, and communication thanks to Mercury. So there is success and abundance with this card. I think there's a great degree of, look, I get richness, abundance, prosperity, a supportive and quiet and close-knit family. And if people are involved in a family business, I think things are going to go along well there as well. But because these things, I'll just make an observation that because these things are set out in the form of the tree of life, this indicates that true wealth must touch all levels of your life. You see, Mercury in Virgo represents an overflowing on spiritual, emotional, and physical levels. And these riches must be communicated, Mercury, if they are to remain valuable. And when hoarded, their energy stagnates and becomes foul. Now, you've attracted everybody to you who is part of your life, and you've created every situation in your life, and you create your own reality. The wealth is in your hands to do with what you like. The responsibility is yours, and you are endlessly wealthy. Now, do you know about your inner wealth? Do you share it generously? Say this to yourself: I am internally and externally rich and free, and enjoy everything thankfully and in surrender.
Well, I personally found that to be fascinating, didn't you? What a lot of great things happening for you this month, and don't you deserve it? Surely you do, that's for sure. And it's going to be probably until now next month before there's your card goes back over there, that mode card. It won't be until next month now that I see you unless you contact me privately. So, but I would ask you this: if you did enjoy the reading, then on the way out, please hit the like button, because it helps the YouTube computer do things with the videos. You understand how that works. Probably a lot better than I do, I should say. But until I see you again, remember one thing, and it is this, that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next month. And until then, it's bye for now.